All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tom Drost. I'm the co-founder of EstimateRocket, and here today to present your success webinar, Estimating in Seconds with Item Templates. A few months back, we added a new capability to EstimateRocket called Item Templates, and another capability that works with items to allow you to create assemblies. We're going to talk about those things today, show you how you can glue them together to create item templates that can really radically speed up your estimating process. So excited today. If you have questions as we go along, please put them in the question box. We'll get to them probably mostly at the end of the session. So again, any questions, just feel free to type them in the little question box, and we will get started. So items and item templates are what we're here to talk about today. And so most of you have services that you sell your time, but you also have materials that go along with the process. Sometimes you have subcontract labor that you make, a variety of different ways that you put together your proposals. So I'm going to show you how item templates work today, and hopefully show you some new things, new ways you can use things that'll make things faster for you to put your proposals together, estimates together. Again, item templates. Hopefully most of you have at least had a look at these. I will probably work quite a bit today with the painting templates for interior and exterior, because those have been probably out in the field the longest, and certainly are probably the best examples of our item templates. But they apply to anything, landscaping, remodeling, just about any business function that you're doing. So we'll take a look at those. I have a couple of examples of item templates here. I'm going to first show you how they work, and then we're going to go back and show you how they're set up. I always find that a little bit easier to do. So I have an example project that I've set up here that already has a few line items on it, and as I mentioned, it is a painting example. So far I've got 3 areas. I've got a living room, a dining room, and 4 bedrooms items, and so they've got prices and details. These were created from an item template. So the way that works in practice is we click on line item plus, and if you've got line item templates defined, then you're going to see things in addition to just the line item option here. So I've got my options for exterior, interior 1 coat, interior 2 coat. I've got one called premium paint upgrade. I've got another one called scope of work, and another one called time and materials. So a lot of different options here. Some of these you may have, some of them are pretty standard. So the exterior and the interior area templates are pretty standard. The premium upgrade and scope of work and time and materials are just some additional examples of what you can do with item templates. So in this particular case, I'm going to just show you quickly how we could do another painting area. So I'm going to select that painting area 2 coats, and it pops up a small dialog, and I can say, start describing master bedroom, and I can start filling in the blanks here. So paint walls, I can use my room dimension calculator. It's 10-foot ceilings, and it's 14 by 18. So that's and when I use the room dimension area calculator, I want to make sure and just use the copy function after I've filled in my first set of areas. I'll show you why that's important in a second. And then I can go ahead and click the checkbox for wall area. I could go down and select the ceiling, and then the paste button will put those dimensions back in for me. Use those. Trim and baseboard, yeah, we got a little bit of trim, so we'll use the perimeter measure for that. And of course, you could adjust these measurements, but this is just a quick example to show you how this is going to work. So how many doors? 2 doors and 2 frames, maybe 4 large windows, and maybe a little crown molding. We can use the measure for the perimeter again for that as well. And that might be it. We do have some extra options. So what you're going to see, what you're seeing right off the bat, if you haven't seen this before, is that the item templates give you sort of a fill in the blanks capability here, where you can just go down and put in your measures and your counts, and you're going to quickly create a line item from that. So if I save that, That is going to create me a single line item that's going to have the value for all of those things that I put in. So it's showing me a total price of $2,087 for this master bedroom. It also shows a little show indicator. So many times with item templates, you're going to see this show indicator. And what that just means is that there are items underneath the line item that the customer is going to see. So they're called nested line items. So these are all the items from the template with the information that we filled in and individual prices. The customer, of course, is only going to see what's at this summary level. So the customer is not going to see these details. Now, there is an option when you're using item templates. I'm going to show you that right now. So when we created this, you'll notice that the output single line item was checked. If we uncheck that and we save our line item again, before we do that, I'm going to actually go down into the item group and say add master bedroom to the item group, and you'll see why in a second. So by unchecking output single line item, it's actually going to create detail line items for all the things that I selected when I filled out the template. So the nice thing about an item template is you always have that option to summarize it into a single line item like I did on the first 3 examples, or to do it as to not output one line item and do all the details for all the things that you selected off of the template. Now, typically with our exterior template, we default it to do this presentation, the output multiple line items, and on interior, we default it to output a single line item. Those are the things that you can do, obviously, when you create your own templates and adapt your own templates. If I want to go back to the other presentation, I can simply edit line item. Another thing to notice when you're working with line item templates, instead of just the option to edit the line item and delete the line item, because these line items were created with an item template, I get this other option here to edit the interior area, which means I want to edit this as a template as opposed to editing just this single line item, paint walls, 2 coats. And that's a pretty important thing to notice. You also have this delete line item and delete paint interior area. So likewise, if I choose delete line item, it would just delete the paint 2 walls. If I delete the paint interior area, it's going to delete all the line items that got created from that template. So just keep that in mind when you see the second edit line and the second delete line. It means that that line item that you're looking at or working on was actually created from an item template. So in this case, I'm going to go back and edit it as the template. I'm going to recheck my output single line, and it has all my description information, and we're going to save that. Now, in this case, it still put it in a separate group because I had changed the item group to interior painting master bedroom. So if I wanted to, I can easily regroup that back into the interior painting group if I just edit that again and remove the master bedroom from the group, that will move it up into the interior painting group. So another powerful concept there is that item group. So item groups let you group your line items into separate sections, which each can have their own subtotals. Again, really handy things for manipulating how your project looks and what the output is like on your project. Couple of other thoughts. We're using item templates and we're using assembly items. We're also using labor and material items that are making up these line items. So because we're doing that, down at the bottom of the project, we get a breakout of labor and materials. So again, this is really handy. It gives you a list of what your total labor hours are for all the things that are in that project, and it also gives you a breakout of all your individual materials that you selected for that project so far. So real benefit of using the labor and materials. So probably a zillion questions about this. Let's go take a look at how we got here. So we started out and we chose the paint area interior 2 coats. So let's go into item templates and take a look at that. So I've got another tab here that I'm going to just jump to. The way you get there is by settings, item templates. So that brings us to our template. And when we go into the templates, we can edit the template, copy it, delete it. So as you're building out your templates, you can have multiple templates with variations on them. I'll show you a couple of those in a few minutes. I could create a paint interior area, walls 2 coats, everything else 1 coat template if I wanted to. So you can design these to have very selective items on the different templates. So let's go ahead in there and edit that template. And so when we're actually building the templates, they look a little bit different than they look when we're using them. So when we're building the templates, we actually will use the green plus here to add additional items to the template from our item list if we want to. And then as we put the items in the template, we can always rearrange them. So if I want to move windows around and have them in a different place on the template, I can do that. I could move my additional expenses up to the very top if I wanted to. So you can just rearrange your items on the template. The other thing you can do on the templates is you can set a default quantity on the template. So in this case, down near the bottom here, we've got interior area prep and we've got sundries, supplies. We've got defaults there of 1 for interior prep, which happens to be hours, and 20 for sundries, which happens to represent $20. So that's just a default for whenever you create a new interior line item, so it'll use those values. So you can set defaults. You only want to set a quantity here in the item template editing if you always want that quantity to default to that when you use the template. If you want it to be always to be optional where you need to put the quantity in, do not put it into the item template itself. So this is how we build the item templates, but to build item templates, the first thing we actually have to do is go build items. So for example, I've got paint walls 2 coats. Now I'm going to jump over to my item screen. I have another tab open for that. Settings, item list. And if you're doing editing of these things, hopefully you've discovered the open in new tab option in your browser. It's a lifesaver. You click on the item you want to select and then right click on it, and most browsers will give you an option to open link in a new tab. That way you can have an items tab open and an item templates tab open. You can even have a project tab open that you're working on as you're testing these things. So I've jumped over the items and I mentioned the item paint walls 2 coats. So I'm just going to search for that. So I've got probably a bunch of paint walls. Hopefully I don't have quite as many 2 coats. So I've got a paint walls 2 coats right here. That's the one that we're referencing in our project. And if I go in and edit that, we're going to see some interesting things. So this item is a special item type called an assembly item. An assembly item allows you to create a service that you sell that it contains more than just a price per square foot. It can be made up of 1 or more material items and 1 or more labor items, which then give you a price based on your production rates. So this capability is very powerful. Again, for interior and exterior painting, we have templates that we can supply for you that you can work off of and make modifications to. We also have templates for a couple of other industries. We have a spray foam insulation template. We are in the process of building some remodeling templates, and we are also always happy to help you build templates as needed for different things that you're interested in having templates for. So don't hesitate to reach out to us and ask, and we'll do our best to help you with those. So paint walls 2 coats. Paint walls 2 coats is made up of 2 distinct things. It's made up of interior painting services, which is a labor item, which I'll show you how to create in a minute. And it's made up of premium interior paint. Now that could be Sherwin-Williams, or it could be Benjamin Moore, or it could be Behr, whatever your paints are. We just default them to a standard description of interior paint, interior trim paint, things like that. But the really important things here are first that interior painting services has a price of its own. So I'm just going to go open yet another tab here, another item list. and I'm going to show you some labor items that we're looking at. So interior painting services we have. I'm going to edit that. So that's a labor item. And that labor item has a price of $55 per hour. So what's really neat and important about this is when I add items, go back over to my assembly, when I add items from the item list into an assembly, I also need to give it a production rate. So what's a production rate? In this case, for painting walls, it's how many square feet per hour can a painter do? So this happens to be to paint 2 coats of wall. So through using the PDCA and other references that we have, our default here is 80 square feet per hour for 2 coats of paint. And the next thing we have is the premium interior paint. So the premium interior paint says, okay, how many square feet per gallon? So as you read these, you can see it's asking you a question. Now, there's 2 fields here for each item. And you can use either one of those fields and it will calculate the other field. So why do we have 2? Well, if it takes more than an hour to do whatever you're doing, then you probably want to use the hours per square feet. So if it took you 2 hours per square foot, putting in a 2 under hours would be easier than calculating the number of square feet per hour you could do, which might be a huge number or a really tiny number. So you can pick whichever column looks easier to fill in, and it will actually backfill the other column for you. So for painting in particular, for painting walls, which are big areas, I tend to use the square feet per hour and the square feet per gallon. And again, the square feet per gallon in this case for 2 coats is 175. So typical spread rate of 350. We're going to cut that in half. We have to double that for 2 coats. So we're only going to get 175 square feet per gallon because we're going to put 2 coats on it. So what does this assembly item mean? What this assembly item means, if we look at this, is that putting in those production rates, it's calculating a material price and a labor time, and then it's giving us a price per square foot that's going to be used whenever we put in a quantity for this particular item. And again, these can be used for a lot of different purposes. You could use them for landscaping, for example, installing a plant, installing a large shrub, a small shrub. It might be installing linear feet of shrubbery. How many hours per linear foot or linear feet per hour can you do? And what is the cost of your materials per linear foot? So again, different ways to slice this, but you can create them so that your price is based on whatever time it takes you to actually perform the operation. Again, we're happy to help people. If you've got questions, if you do want to set these up and you have questions about how you can do it, we're there for you to help and work through those questions with you. So I mentioned that this is made up of 2 pieces. It's made up of labor, which was the interior painting services, and it's also made up of a material. So here we've got our labor, and if we go to interior premium paint, great if I could spell better. And if I check the materials box, I had labor selected, so it was only showing me labor items. If I select materials and say, and that shows me a whole bunch of them, and my demo is a little messy, but so I can go in and look at my premium interior paint, and when I go into the paint, it's going to show me that my unit for paint is a gallon. Now the unit that you use on a material item should be the unit that you purchase this material by. So if it's lumber, it might be a piece of siding, an 8-foot piece of siding. It could be a 4x8 sheet of drywall. It could be a 2x4x8, whatever that material dimension is that you typically purchase it by is what you want to use in the unit for the material. And then the material dollars, it should be the dollars per unit. So, you know, if you always purchase it by you know, a 2x4, then that's how you want, that's what that material cost should. If you typically purchase it, you know, each, then that would be what your price is for it. So we've got our material, interior paint, and we've got our service, interior painting services, and what does it get us when we use it? So when we go back over to our project, our painting project, and we look at our living room, and we drill down to our paint walls 2 coats. Now, these assembly items we can actually drill into and look at. So we can drill down and see what the values are for the different items in here. And I'm just gonna quick change my column heading so we can see the quantity and the unit price columns, so that'll be useful. And now we can see, when we drill in there, we can see that the paint walls 2 coats, our price for labor of $50 per hour, based on our production rate of 75 square feet per hour. I think that's what that was, 80 square feet per hour, sorry. 80 square feet per hour, that it's gonna take us 4 hours. We're gonna do 352 square feet. It says it's of walls. It's gonna take us 4.4 hours of labor, and it's going to use 2.01 gallons of paint. So that's kind of the magic once you start using the item templates, is that it's going to break out your materials and labor for you and give you your total hours for your project, total price for the project. And if you're using the enterprise version, it will also give you your estimated cost of labor and cost of materials to calculate your profitability. So one of the other things that's happening here is it's gathering up our total hours, our total cost, and our total estimated profits. As the project progresses, if we're actually tracking time and expenses, then we get to see what our actual profit is on the project as well. So a lot of concepts here, but just I want you to see what the potential is here for building these. It does take some time to build them. I'm not going to lie and say this is a piece of cake, but once you do this, your numbers will be far more accurate than your competitors' numbers and far more reliable. And you'll have a tool at your hands to now analyze what happens when a project is over. If a project doesn't go right, or if you're way over on hours, this gives you a tool to drill into those details and figure out what happened. Really critical. So another thing that you can do with item templates, so we obviously can create line items for pricing. Another thing you can do with item templates that's really pretty neat is for things like a scope of work. So everybody's got different standard scopes of work that they use, or you should if you don't. So I can create a template for my scopes of work. So here I've got one that has interior prep, exterior prep, and painting contract. These are kind of made up things, but just to give you an example, so if I want to include these in my project, I put a value here, 1 or 0, anything I need. There's no price on this, so on these particular items, there's no price, so it doesn't really matter which ones we put them in. And I'm going to save that. And I have now added my nice detailed scope of work to the project, and don't have to retype it, and know that it's always going to be correct. I've added this, of course, I can go back in and edit the line item if I need to, and make any changes necessary. So if I want to take something out for this particular project and delete that, I can do it, and then save it just for this project. And then, of course, you can always move your items up, move your groups around, put the drag and drop, and move it up towards the top of the project. So another really handy way to use your item groups. Next idea for what you can do with templates is create a discount template, for example. We get asked a lot, hey, how do I add a discount? Well, we have that we can load into your account for you. Just let us know. And basically, when I hit discount template, what discount template is looking for, I'm going to go back to that in a minute. This template is actually looking for you to enter in the total dollar value that you want to apply the discount to. So I'm just taking a quick look. My project value is 8206. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say I want to add a discount template, and I want to give them 15% on 8206. And it's already got a group. I fill in that $82 that I apply 15% discount to, and voila, we have now applied a discount to this project of 15%. Of course, you could have whatever descriptions or things that you wanted in there as well. So another great use for item templates. So for bringing in your scope of work text, for obviously for creating your detailed line items, and for discounting. Another type of item group, an item templates you can set up. And again, this is an example of using an item template to actually create an assembly. So I've created this time and materials painting template. And what it uses for input, there are some people who want to just put in a number of hours and a dollars or a gallons. So what this template does is it asks you, what's your area? I'm going to paint the basement. And then it says, how many hours is it going to take? So this is just a labor item that we've added into the template. So I'm going to say it's going to take us 12 hours. And I can either put in dollars for painting materials. Maybe I want to put in $20 for sundries. And it's going to ask you for a number of gallons. Now, again, all these are optional. I just added some items into an item template that have various inputs, both be they material quantities or labor hours or dollars. And then I have a number of gallons. We're going to say it's going to take 2 gallons. And then I've got a description down here that's a default. So I can change this, I can modify it, add to it, subtract to it, from it. And then I can also, because I'm going to output a single line item, I can output this right into my interior painting area. And so now we've added basement. So this basement was added using this special time and materials template. So again, so now, looking at this time and materials template, I'd like you to think in terms of that you would be able to create a template. Sorry, so many places to go here. If we look at this time and materials template, again, it's simply a labor item, a material item, which is based on a dollar input, and a material gallons. So this is able to create a single line item, but that single line item also is made up of some materials and some labor and whatever other components you want to put on it. So another really, really powerful technique that you can use, item templates. This capability actually makes it so that you can really create a template for virtually any service that you provide. So I have a couple of other examples that I want to show you. I have a couple examples that I call the remodel examples. Bathroom and kitchen are relatively new things that I created. So I already have an example here of remodeling the upstairs bathroom. Let's do a remodel kitchen. So this template is made up of a few items that would go into a modeling project for your kitchen. So, and again, these are made up of hours, labor items, and materials. So I can have, how many hours of demolition time are we going to do? How many hours of carpentry? 22. How many hours for flooring? How many square feet of flooring basics? 10 different material items in here for the different types of materials we might want to add to a project. So let's say it's 240 square feet of flooring. Lumber is going to be 450. Again, this isn't a production rate based template, but it's a template where you can add in all of the components that are going to go into this project when you're building it out. and have it give you a single price and a single line item. Are we going to do any drywall? No, maybe we don't have any drywall in this project. No new electrical. We are going to do some carpentry in the kitchen, so this might be 24 hours we figure it's going to take us. And we're going to, these kitchen-based cabinets, and cabinets are linear foot prices. So again, you might have high, medium, and low end cabinets that you would offer people, or different options, but this is a basic. So we might have 16 feet of base cabinets and 18 feet of wall cabinets and 16 feet of countertop. And maybe we have a granite option, or high, medium, low, or just an allowance, something like that. Do we have any appliances? Yeah, the appliances are going to be $10,000. And then we're going to do new kitchen sink. Yeah, we're going to do that. It's going to take 6 hours to install, and we're going to do a double sink. So again, this is just to give you an idea of the type of thing you could do. Now I've got a canned description in here, but I can obviously alter this, for each project. So maybe I'm going to say includes high-end appliances. Something like that. So my description, and we're going to put it in its own group for remodeling kitchen. And there we go. We've got our kitchen remodel with the total price and a list of what we're going to do. Now I can just as easily detail it out if we want to. So if I go back to my template, I uncheck the output single line item, and now I've got a list of details for the customer. So we're going to do demolition, we're going to do carpentry, we're going to do flooring, we're going to include the flooring, we're going to do some more carpentry in the kitchen. You can give the customer as many details as you want as well. So lots of options here in terms of how this is actually displayed to the customer, in terms of what kind of presentation you want to make. And of course, you can always alter which columns are being displayed to the customer. So I don't even have to show any line item totals, and just show a group total if I want to. So now I just show, okay, all the services we're going to provide are going to be a total of $38,000. Now, if I was going to use this particular approach, I would probably have more descriptions in my individual items, like demolition would probably have a boilerplate description of what is involved in demolition. So again, there's things to set up, there's things to build to do this, but once you've gone through this process and actually built these line items up, your whole estimating process, your whole project proposal process becomes a much faster process, much more consistent and much easier to flow through. And I really highly recommend that you do some exploring of building templates for your company, or talking to us and we can help you build the templates for your company. It's a huge time saver. As you can see, it turns it into a fill in the blanks instead of searching for every item that you want or building all the items on the fly. It just makes it a much smoother, cleaner process. So that's the core of what I wanted to show you today. We've gone through a bunch of examples and different ways to do things. I know we kind of flew through that. We will publish a recording of this session, so you'll be able to go back through and take a look at things in the future if you want to. So encourage people to do that. Always be checking out our YouTube channel. And I know I briefly showed the calculators like room dimensions. There's a regular calculator, volume calculator, area calculator. Those are very handy. Anywhere in EstimateRocket where there's a quantity field, you can pop down one of these calculators to use to calculate an amount. All right, well, listen, I'd like to thank everybody for attending. We try to do these once a month. I may try to bump that up to twice a month, but not sure we want to do that in mid-season. But I do appreciate everybody coming today and attending, and I hope you get a lot out of it. I hope you get a lot out of EstimateRocket. And we'll keep doing these sessions and hoping that you get as much as you can out of EstimateRocket. If you guys succeed, we succeed. And I'd like to thank everybody again, and we'll see you next time.